Great drivers in the past have come through this category into GT3 Cup Challenge and then into Porsche Carrera Cup Australia most recently. Dylan O'Keefe, who's second in the Carrera Cup Championship, has done so. Richard Muscat in the past. Got a tweet from Rich last night, who'll be watching on today with his newborn baby, he and his wife Tori. Welcome to newborn recently, and Rich will be watching on, seeing a category in which he developed his racing roots, moved into Cup Challenge, won that, and then had a season in Carrera Cup, and he's now in the Super 2 series. So away we go. 9 laps the distance, a full reverse grid race. It's Tony Westaway, car number 28, who leads the field down into turn 1. If you haven't seen 944 Challenge, 2.5 litres, single overhead cam Porsche engine from the early gen cars. They're 1,100 kilos, perfectly balanced, evenly matched, really good, hard competitive racing.
Tony Westaway will take up the lead down into turn 3 with Keith Mariner, who was starting off the back of the grid yesterday. He's already been pushed back to P3 as they get out of the turn 4 this time around. And Tony Westaway, who we thought yesterday, we had word from his son James, who, by the way, won all the races here, bar one that Cameron Bella took in the state round earlier on this year, that he was foxing. He wanted to start off the front row, lead from the front and take a race 2 here for the weekend as James Mitchell takes up second spot. Mariner runs a bit wide coming out of Penrite.
A great diverse mix of cars. It's a control formula, but there are a few different options that teams and drivers can play with as far as setup goes and the package that they run underneath the car, but otherwise they're very close to being production based. They run a control ECU, that bright aqua coloured car. Number 1 on the door is Cameron Bella. He's the reigning state champion and a multiple time champion in 944 Cup. So he started this race last. He's already made up a couple of positions, shown 11th at the middle timing intermediate, but I suspect he'll be making hay while this beautiful sun shines here at Winton later in the race. We'll see him fighting towards the top 3. Chris Lewis-Williams, we need to confirm this visually, but he's shown on the timing as 4th place. Now, he started second last in 12th. If he's got to 4th in 1 lap of racing, then it's going to be one of the great all-time laps. It's actually going to be 3rd. So CLW goes down the inside. President of the Benalla Car Club, who looks after this venue in Wakefield Park up in Goulburn. He is storming his way through the field.
Manny Menezalva as well, getting through there as yesterday. Didn't have much pace.
He's second.
He is second, that's right. The CEO around these parts, as we see Mark Torbitts go through. He's the president of the 944s. In fact, he was right behind trying to get this on the bill here for the Shannons National as he's gone into the dirt. Continues on and got a long way to catch up. Only 9 laps the journey, so he's going to struggle to catch up onto the back of the field. Here we go. Chris Lewis-Williams looks to the outside at turn 4, taking one of the many and varied lines that you can use there. There's Manny Zelma, and have a look at that around the outside. Goes Holding. Rob Holding got a good run yesterday, brand new to 944s, and he looks to be a burgeoning force in the 944s.
Lewis-Williams is going to lead this by the end of the lap. In fact, he's going to go down the inside now at turn 10. Bella's still trying to work his way through. So there's the lead. Chris Lewis-Williams from 12th to 1st in, well, 1.8 laps. Basically, only a couple of corners to go on the second lap of this race. That is an enormous charge through the field. Now, in these perfect conditions, we'll have a look at the lap record because they're going to give it a shake, I would have thought. We saw the Cup Challenge record go 3 times in 12 laps earlier on this morning. 1:34.07. Cameron Bella holds that benchmark. It was set in 2016. This surface is probably as good as it's been in a couple of years. The work they've done on the track on the exit of turn 2 up to the old start-finish line, they've sort of hydro-blasted the track, which took all the rubber off, and it's just imbibed it with a heap more grip. That section of circuit there, you can see the change of colour on the track surface. So the drivers are saying it's got so much more grip as Bella goes down the inside of James. That's for 5th place. So let's see now in clear air if Chris Lewis-Williams can go after a lap record perhaps, just to complete what's been a pretty epic drive, and he's only 2 laps in.
This is not a championship round as we see run with the Victorian State Series. It's a standalone event for the Dennis O'Keefe Cup. And they're all very much wanting to reach out and take that, as Bella in the Aqua car really needs to try and push through in car number 1. I guess the stability of the rules with 944s, really the only change has been a minor change to the suspension that they can run in the last little while. But for 20 years, this category's been running, the second most successful one-make category behind HQs. And that's only because they were born 10 years prior to the 944s. But the Yokohama tyre supplied by the Traction Tyre Centre, they've never had a complaint about it. Every time they go racing in the dry or the wet, everyone goes, oh, the Yoki just hangs on so well. That does a terrific job as Bella looks to come through on Mitchell. Will take P3.
Great drive out of turn 10, Daz, and Mitchell didn't. So it was a foregone conclusion that car number 1 was going to go through by turn 11. Yeah, terrific cars, and they're very, very affordable. The 944 Challenge website has several very good examples for sale at the moment, anywhere between 15 to 20 grand for an entry-level car to about 35,000 AU for a really well-developed front-running vehicle that you could jump in and strut your stuff with at the front of the field straight away. So it's very affordable motor racing. They're quick racing cars. The lap record, as I said, is a 34.0, so at 12 seconds slower than a Cup car, but for probably, you know, I don't know, the 20th of the price perhaps. They're not overly expensive, and a lot of the drivers telling me yesterday that they literally just wheel them off the trailer, put them on the track, wipe them down at the end of the day, make sure it's still got oil in it, and send them back out the next day. Terrific stuff. A guy that's actually raced one of these cars didn't go real well, so he gave it up. Here's Cameron van der Dungen.
Yeah, I just got Mark Torbets out of the car here in the lane. Mark, what's happened?
We were dicing pretty hard, given it's a reverse grid race, so we're all trying to find the right position, and I was on the outside coming into one, and it just all closed up, so I've touched Paul Crescitti and I went through the grass. So there's a bit of a vibration in the front end going through the right-handers, but we want to get the points for finishing, so we might just, there doesn't look like there's anything about to drop off, so we might go back out there and get the points and finish the race and be in the right spot for the handicap race at the end.
All right, stop talking to me, get back in the car.
And there's been dramas. Thank you, Cameron. There's been dramas at turn 10. A couple of cars pointing in the wrong direction, and that was that midfield battle. I think it was James Holding. I think was in there, and Westaway perhaps
Keith
as
Mariner
well.
as well, mixed up in there. And if you're just wondering if 944s can take you anywhere in the world of motorsport, Richard's already touched on Richard Muscat, Dylan O'Keefe, Elliot Barber, Kane Rose, Danny Studdard, Brian Finn, Vince Mizuraka, Brenton Grove, and yes, Eric Banner took him all the way to Hollywood after he got a 944 start. And also Paul Stevenson, Formula 3 champion, did a bit of racing in the 944s along the way as well. So some names that we know very well here at the Shannons National, particularly Muscat, Keefe, Barber and Rose, and Danny Studdard as well, who didn't have a great race this morning, but racing in the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge.
So Cam Bella's got himself to second place now. You can see him heading up through 5, 6 and 7, that great change of direction, iconic for Winton. And he's just punched out the fastest lap of the race. It's a 34.37. It's only 3/10 off the lap record, so they're going out after it. He is running that new suspension setup you're talking about. It's a stiffer suspension package that they're allowed to run in these cars now. Lewis Williams still running a slightly softer setup on car 37. So the two arguably most successful drivers in this field presently are first and second, and Bella's going out lap record hunting in his pursuit of Chris Lewis Williams. So the gap is 3.7 seconds. He's been faster than anybody to the first sector, faster than anybody to the middle sector of this lap. He's got 2 corners to negotiate, and we'll see as we look a bit further back down the field to car 97, which is Holding. He's running in 5th place and involved in a good fight. Let's see if Bella can break a lap record. I'd love to see another one go in one-make Porsche competition today. Simon Fallon broke the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge one earlier today. Bella's going to cross the line, 34.1. He goes within a 10th of a second. Not quite.
It's his own to keep, so he is working very, very hard at that. Just watching now for Richard Howe, or Dickie Howe to his mates out there. Been racing right back since the Thunderdome days, as we see this battle fighting it out for the minors, essentially, for 5th and 6th with Holding and Westaway. Holding was the sensation of the race yesterday, getting through for a podium. Brand new to the category. Peter James has certainly been around for quite some time. But Dickie Howe right down there was messed up in that turn 10 melee down there. So a wily veteran, but Chris Lewis Williams, who hasn't been racing regularly over the last couple of seasons since he started as the CEO here at Winton Motor Raceway and the Benalla Auto Club. And here's the move, and that's for 5th place as Westaway Looks onto the back now of Rob Holding as Peter James goes back one spot, and Holding continues on his push to the front of the field.
Bella pushing on again, going after his own lap record. So really good stuff. This is close racing, 2.2 seconds, and he's going to try and go for another lap record. So this is that move. It's turn 7, turns the car in. And Holding got that spot. So that was 4th and 5th place. James back to P5 there. So fights all the way through the field. Lightweight, nimble little race cars, 1,100 kilos, as I said. Not an enormous amount of horsepower, about 200. As Cameron Bella breaks his own lap record in his pursuit of Chris Lewis-Williams. So it took him 2 laps to wind up to it. 1:33.97. The first ever lap in the 33s at this circuit for a 944 in racing conditions. And Cam Bella is going a-hunting Chris Lewis-Williams.
Impressive stuff too. It's still quite cool out there, but you've got to suggest ideal 2.5 litre, normally aspirated power plants. There, as Richard suggested, there was a number of different performance options, and I guess the 2.5 litre single cam is the less of the horsepower options that they could have chosen, and I guess that's what's giving us such good control. You have a look at Bella, car 1. He's within striking distance with 3 laps to go.
This series based in Victoria, but has raced at a national level. They've competed at Mount Panorama in the past. They've raced in South Australia. Actually, I was talking to Buick Motorworks, well-known South Australian preparer of Porsches, enablers as well, because they've engaged me into one as well, road-going version. Cheap one, too, by the way, that nothing really works on. But that's a story for another day, Cams. Daz, this isn't about me. Mark Buick built a car, qualified 6th at Mallala around, finished 3rd, 1st and 1st. Apparently missed out on the round victory on a countback. This is with Mark Buick driving. This was a surprising story to us all. So Buick was up on the wheel that weekend and then sold it and made some cash apparently. So the cars race all around Australia, and the beauty of these cars is you can race them in a whole array of different categories as well. They're eligible for Mark Sports competition as Bella breaks the lap record again. 33.9462 this time, a couple of hundreds quicker than his last lap. He's hauled in Chris Lewis-Williams. There's 2 laps to go, and CLW is going defensive from the braking zone into turn 3.
Cam Bella's driving the race of his life here at the moment. This isn't even for points in the championship, but he wants that DOK trophy, and he's going to do everything he possibly can to pressure Chris Lewis-Williams into it. Experienced racers, both of them in these cars. You touched on the versatility of these cars. I guess the next big one for these guys is the state round at Phillip Island coming up, and then Island Magic at the end of the year, where they'll have a 944 race, and then they'll have the Q1 hour.
Yeah.
So they'll be mixed in with R8s and with 458 Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all sorts of things. Well, and they'll have their race within the race.
And at Phillip Island as well, these things have been very, very good around there. They're all about mid-corner speed, and they're amazing balance. Not a lot of horsepower, as I said, only 200, but through the corners and under brakes, these cars are really impressive. So the high-speed, fast and flying Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, I imagine they would be great fun to drive. This is a terrific scrap. A little bit of traffic to deal with now. That's Torbitts, who's been in pit lane and has returned to the circuit. But Chris Lewis-Williams has got a lap to cover his line from Cam Bella, who's got lights ablaze in that aquamarine liveried number 1. 3.2 Ks to go. Can Chris hold on, or will Bella go from last to first?
Have a look at CLW covering the line down in turn 1, gradually moving over to try and take the ultimate line through 1. Bella saying, well, I'll have a look, but I reckon turn 3 is where I'm going to get you, Chris. And the Porsche part cars as they crest the hill there. A little bit deceiving, that shot, has to drop back in behind. Maybe at 4 he can stuff the nose up there. But CLW keeping the lines covered. He's really got the Winton layout mastered, as most of the Victorian racers do, because they do get such an opportunity to race here.
He looked at turn 5. It would have been a big move to commit down the inside, and it would have required some generosity from Lewis-Williams to open the wheel a little bit and let him up the inside, which there was no way he was going to do. But he got a really good drive out of turn 4. Williams wide out of 7. This is 8, round the gum tree, and then into turn 9, the second of these tight, long constant radius right-handers, and power exit or power down here is very important for the run out of 10. So Chris will have the inside line now into turn 10. Bella will have to go the long way round, but it might help him get good corner exit for the drag race down to turn 11. Final few corners. Reverse grid, Porsche 944 racing. That's Torbitts, the lapped car. They just who's limping around the racetrack. So they've gone past him quickly a couple of times. Final few corners. And Lewis Williams, I think, might just hold on, barring a final corner dive bomb.
Cambella has got that finish line in his sights, but there's no way he's going to win the drag race here with Chris Lewis Williams as he goes over to take that checkered flag and a happy victory. And welcome to Victory Lane on the Shannons live stream as well. There, Chris Lewis Williams, Cambella. He will fight to live another day. The really interesting thing that's going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons is their next race is an old school handicap.
Yeah.
As in one row of the grid will go, the next row will be held momentarily, the next row of the grid will go, the next one will be held, etc., etc. So we'll see these fastest cars that have started rear of grid in this reverse grid race go back to the rear of the grid. Ultimately, the handicapper's goal is that we'll have 9 cars cross the line side by side.
Well, you need a racetrack 50 metres wide to do it, but yeah, that's exactly what they're trying to do. It's going to be fascinating. That'll come your way later on this afternoon. So Chris Lewis Williams wins it from 12th to 1st. Cameron Bella went from 13th to 2nd, and a close finish 2 tenths behind them. Bella breaks the lap record. Westaway was 3rd, having started that one from pole, holding 4th James and Michael Westaway from 6th. Then Doherty, Mezzalma in 8th place, Mitchell and Howe rounding out the top 10. In race number 2, the Porsche 944 Challenge Invitational, with thanks to a Porsche part this weekend. Appreciate their support in this great one-make series. It's cool to see them at a national level.